Okay, so I'm going to first welcome back everyone. I saw you yesterday. I hope you enjoyed the boat trip from um, Shipgate crew, to call it like that, because they are well prepared there. I had a really nice time. Next year, we'll look also for a better weather eventually, booked in advance because it was a bit windy, chilly. Anyhow, not to prolong that much and go into the sessions in time. As usual, I give a short summary of what happened in the last years. This is the evolution because I noticed quite a lot of new people coming this year, and just to have the idea of where were the major moments of development in our project. Again, remember we started as SIP Express router project back in 2001 at Fraunhofer Focus Institute, which is located in Charlottenburg, so somewhere closer to Tegel Airport. And here we are at the Fraunhofer Forum location, which is part of Fraunhofer, but carrying off events. So we started early with things like IPv6 from 2002. We had it just before we made it open source, because for about 1 year was inside development at Fraunhofer Focus Institute. Then we had to fork with OpenSCR in 2005, but then we continue quite a lot with instant messaging and presence and enabling a lot of other features in our OpenSCR branch, including the first scripting language, as I had yesterday presentation, and I know Fred and other people like it still love Perl, so it's still there. Maybe we should bring it to the Kemi framework as well. Then we had the incident with the trademark, so we had to rename to Kamailio back in 2008, and from that moment we are with this name for the project. We continue at a really strong and fast pace of development, trying to be always ahead of the market by collaborating closely with this ITF and ITU. So we are looking at the standards. So we incorporated IMS voice over LTE extensions. We'll speak a bit more about them because they need a bit of more work, but then distributed message queue, they came into our project like 2011. A lot of NoSQL that was exploding in the market with these cloud services, you know, this Redis and the MongoDB. It is this period of 2010, 2015. And as we needed more flexibility to integrate with all these backends, the API, REST API, and all the fancy feature you find in this current technology out there from cloud, Anycast, and so on, we added this ability to execute any kind of, or not the popular scripting languages such as Lua, Python, JavaScript as an option for our native scripting language. The last major release was last November, 5.2, and it's still the current one. We are now under 5.3 development branch. So I list here all these releases we had because, as Ramona mentioned, we have Marcus from Shipgate with an interesting session closer to the end of the day. And one of the goals there was to reveal who is running old version of our project. And you might see some interesting numbers there, which it's nice to see that people are sticking for so long time. As new modules during the last year, we had the ACC JSON from Julian, which is here. Support for Python 3, as it was not compatibility with Python 2 from this perspective. I added Ruby support for the Kemi, and I know that Andrew from Australia, I don't know if it's already here or not, but seems to be a big fan, making a bit of noise out in our mailing list. Redis support from CPOI's Andreas, it's around here. Some work on IMS from NG Voice, and PUA JSON, I think, is from Emmanuel, which is also here. I can't see it right now, but I think it's the right one. Julian spoke yesterday about RTP media server, so if you are interested on that kind of module, please provide feedback, test. As Julian said, it's a really early phase of it. And from Spain, with the help of Victor, and we got this security filter where you can put some policies in the database, so it's easier to provision in terms of blocking some traffic. So this, it's like a brand new addition during the last year of development, so from the last Kamailio to today. Some old modules got sort of refactoring, so there is a big impact, and I know that dispatcher is one of the very popular ones, so when you upgrade from 5.1 to 5.2, be careful. In terms of routing, blocks there is not much change, but you'll have to change the parameters. We shifted from AVPs to XAVPs as they are a better design or better suitable for what dispatcher needs inside to work with those kind of variables. And in addition to that, so which brought sort of improvement, we have also a better indexing, specifically useful when you work with a lot of destination in your groups. So they are found faster when doing a lookup. So we have a tree now instead of a list. And quite interesting could be, at least for me, and it's why I added, you can do now selection from multiple groups with different algorithms at the same time. So DS select routes here, it's first would be the algorithm, the group, sorry. So from group 1 with algorithm 4, which is round robin, then you want to also select further from group 2 with an algorithm that you eventually set in a variable before. And you want to push to the request URI, you still can push to destination URI, and you can give a limit, like I want to use the first, I don't know, 5 active destination. So it gives a lot more flexibility from Julian. Again, I mentioned it yesterday, this latency statistics, so congestion control for the dispatching. And we had contribution in the last few weeks from a Dutch guy. I haven't seen it here, but allows you to do operation with a single destination in memory. Before it was like writing to the database and then issuing a reload. Now you can add, remove a single entry directly with RPC, which makes it a bit easier in this Docker-like context when you have more dynamic environment. Other major impact changes to the existing modules and features. Of course, it was mentioned also last year, but was a quite fresh addition, and we'll have today Andrea speaking, but I'm willing to mention it from right now. It was a lot of work on this Rtp Engine, the application that we use for not traversal, but now you can do transcoding, call recording. It's really fancy in the feature you can do. This ready support for database, I mentioned the module before, but you can replace MySQL with Redis, so typically it could be an option for clustering, as if you are familiar with that application, the Redis. I worked a bit with, and thanks to Evosip that they supported the development on that direction with this dialog loading from database. So in distributed platforms, you can split the load between nodes, and if one node goes down, then maybe the buy goes to another node. And then if that instance doesn't find the dialog in memory, the record about that call can go to the backend, which could be also Redis or could be MySQL, and load only that specific dialog. So you don't really need to distribute, because I'll have tomorrow a talk, but distributing everything could limit you because you are limited by the capacity of one node. But this is kind of hybrid, like load from only on demand. So it's something that I find quite useful. Quite a lot on distributed message queue work, especially from Charles from UK. IMS enhancement, as you could see, also a new module from Brick, NG Voice here. TLS enhancements, including support for many server name indications and support for OpenSSL engine. So if you have a large number of TLS connection, you can think of plugging in some hardware for optimizing encryption, decryption there. And this RTP media server again, this I mention it again because we shift a little bit from signaling only to having a module that could do a bit of like playing an audio file and so on. Again, early phase, it's mainly looking for feedback. Last year was not only about like just new features. I'm really happy that we could have our first development meeting face-to-face. Thanks again to Seagate in Düsseldorf. They hosted us. Miko, which is also here, was there. Victor, you can see in the picture. Alex Dubovikov. So we had spent 2 interesting days in Düsseldorf, of course, having some beer during the evening, but mainly during the day we were like this, and actually you could see it into the number of commits. Henning was also there. Yeah, it's in the picture down there, but it was a good meeting, and we plan to do it again this year. We'll have to find a topic. Last year, the main topic was unifying the module interface. As you could see with the history, it was OpenSCR, then OpenSCR, then Kamailio, and actually we merged back with SIP Express router code at some point. A big warning, and this is something that I need to address at high priority during the next weeks. I was postponing it because of busy times with Kamailio war, but libSSL changed internally the API for locking, and they kind of broke how we use the previous version. So from libSSL 1.0 to 1.1, you are no longer allowed to set these lock-unlock functions, and they do it only internally, but they do it for threads, and we are multi-process. So the safe way would be now either compile with the libSSL 1.0 or Richard from Zipwise. He provided like an workaround with a preloaded library that is replacing the POSIX mutex functions by exchanging the symbols before. We want to address it with OpenSSL project because I saw some others reporting it. I heard from FreeSwitch guys that they are pinned it to libSSL 1.0 for the same reason, so they compile only with that one. So it's not only us that are affected, but I wanted to do it after the event because probably I will need to keep every day discussing with them, explaining, trying to find a solution. As I know that Kamailio is used a lot with TLS, this was something that I wanted to highlight. For the near future plans, so again, this it's on the top, but then we discussed also yesterday a bit, but during the developer IRC meetings, there are a couple of areas of interest which will require more effort, not typically coding, but could involve testing or infrastructure for testing, and we plan to. There are a couple of companies already interested, like for IMS extension, I know like Atonet, Stefano here, it's interested, and then Valentin. So the idea is to get a couple of companies together, decide what one company provides, maybe infrastructure for testing, one is paying a developer and so on, and then bring this extension to use the current technology, especially for presence, would be an interesting analysis to look if using Redis or some other distributed backend makes it an improvement. For IMS, it requires also a bit of proper integration because it was a separate project, OpenIMS core, for a long time. From the Fraunhofer focus with the work of Dragos Vungarjan, and we got the modules a couple of years ago. So we want to review them and see, as yesterday was reported, a couple of mode params are not really working or something like that. Then, of course, I plan to continue with this unit testing, continuous integration. We have good support now for RPM packages from a community developer. And what's also something big, and I want to address it for the next year, will be this unification of the documentation. Now we have documentation for the native scripting, quite good, at least as reference, but we need to integrate it with this Kemi because one function exported to a Kemi is also available to config file. It's just the difference of parameters and how we handle the return code. So this would be the next year. Otherwise, we haven't seen any requests for like major feature to add. But of course, expect as usual new feature to be added. Just reminding that you can get listed on our website if you do business with Kamailio. So if you are a consultant or you have a product, or if you use Kamailio, you can get. And as I got a lot of questions, I planning to update the book to, or I and Ramona, we planning to do it till this event, but we didn't get a chance. Should be in a few months, so by next edition for sure you'll get the updated version.
Is that new code?
No, this is the one we have now, but will be updated for Kamailio 5.2 or 5.3, depending if we release before the summer or after the summer. But we started the work, we just haven't finished it. So that's from my side. I'll be also tomorrow here with another presentation about distributed platforms, the application, and so on. I'm also ending with big thanks to our sponsors that help us to give away good gadgets or bring here more speakers than usual. So we'll have altogether 37 sessions. We try to squeeze all these interesting proposals. So I'm sure today and tomorrow we'll have very interesting presentation. That's from me, and now I would like to invite our main guest and the main host of our event. I see Thomas, it's already here. So Professor Thomas Margenans, the head of the NGNI the department at the Fraunhofer Institute, which is